So hello friends, in today's video we are going to discuss the custodial deaths and associated police reforms. Recently in Sathankulam police station, which is located in Thoothukudi district of Tamil Nadu, a father and son duo were allegedly murdered under the police station. It is said that the police tortured those two people and they allegedly killed them. So this issue has raised the Pandora box of custodial deaths and excessive powers vested in the police and the associated police reforms. So all over the nation everyone are talking related to police reforms, and so this is a potential area for the mains examination and questions can be asked. And there is also an associated UN treaty called UN Convention Against Torture, which prohibits any forms of torture inflicted by the government to the citizens. So this treaty also comes into picture because India has signed it but it has not ratified it. So this is also a potential area which can be asked in preliminary. So let us focus on custodial deaths and associated police reforms with respect to UPSC point of view and what we can study and what we can expect in the UPSCs. This area of custodial death is relevant under GS2 governance. In GS2 we are having syllabus related to executive, judiciary and legislature. So under executive we are having the police department. The police department comes under the executive and it comes under the state government with respect to the division of power. So and hence we have to study this any issues or any associated reforms needed in the police. Other than this, if you could note clearly, rights have been violated. Whenever custodial deaths take place, Article 21 and 22 are violated. So when Article 21 and 22 are violated, it is a constitutional crisis. It is a constitutional case. Since it is a constitutional case where the fundamental rights are being violated, this can also be a potential area under GS2. That's why it is relevant under GS2. Another area and the most relevant area where UPSC can ask custodial deaths is ethics and integrity. So in ethics and integrity, you know the questions are being asked in the form of case studies. So this particular case study which took place in Thoothukudi or any other custodial death issues which is taking place all over the India, for example the police brutality which is taking place in Uttar Pradesh, or with respect to the how police handled the anti-CAA protest or the Jamia Millia protest. So all these things we are seeing the kind of police brutality all over India, and hence this case itself can be given as a case study in the GS4 paper, and like they can give a case study like you are the police officer and you come across this incident of custodial death. How you will answer, how you will handle this, what action you will take against the inspector or sub-inspector who was involved in this custodial death, how you will handle it. So that can be one kind of form of case study. Or they can give a case study and they will place you from the victim's point of view. They might place you in the victim sides and they can ask the case study. Or sometimes if you could note in the recent times, if you see the 2019 ethics paper, the pattern of case study which UPSC is asking is changing. How they can give the same issue in the GS4 is that they might give you the incident that a lot of custodial deaths are happening in India, police brutality is increasing in India, suggest some measures to control the police brutality or suggest some measures to control the excessive police power, how the police can be reformed. So in those kind of questions are also being asked in the ethics and integrity paper of GS4. If you remember, in 2017 there was a in 2016 there was a bridge collapse in Kolkata. There was a bridge which collapsed in Kolkata. In 2017 immediately they asked, and also there was in Porur there was a building collapse in Chennai. So after such instances, UPSC in 2017 in ethics paper they asked this question: how can we control the wrong construction of building, like not following any guidelines while construction of building? So like that they can also ask now how you can control the custodial death. So that is a potential area where UPSC can ask. You see this question which was asked in 2019. What do you understand by the term public servant? Reflect the expected role of public servant. If such question is being asked in the mains, what you can do? You can, when you are explaining the role of a public servant, you can quote this particular incidents of custodial deaths as a wrong example. So this is not how a civil servant should be. You can quote it as a negative example while writing the answers. Writing the contemporary example will enrich your answer. So write contemporary examples and take such instances from news as notes. If you see this question, what are the consequences of politicization of bureaucracy? Discuss. They are just asking consequences of politicization of bureaucracy. Tomorrow they can replace this word and they can put what is the consequences of custodial deaths. So like that also they can ask. So what is custodial death? A custodial death means death in the custody. That is death of a person in the custody of police or authorities of a prison. So if a person dies in the police station, it is called as custodial deaths. Whether custodial deaths is prohibited, whether the police can escape, yes. custodial deaths is prohibited in India, and there are many provisions in CRPC and in the various areas which prohibit such treatment. And in many cases, Supreme Courts have also given judgments against such custodial deaths. But still, it is taking place because there is a lot of structural issues associated with the police reforms. Only if those structural issues are addressed, we can stop such menace. Let us take an example. If at all a custodial death like this is keeping on taking place, what will happen? So, what is the effect of a custodial death? The effect of the custodial death is that on one side, individual's freedom is denied. Individual's freedom means the person, the victim, that victim's fundamental rights or the victim's freedom is being denied. Individual freedom or right are denied. Hence, this is a very big issue because a person who is allegedly taken for an investigation is being killed in the police station, and that is leading to issue. Another side of this is societal. This is with respect to individual's point of view. This is with respect to society's point of view. Society loses society's trust on police reduces. Already in Indian society, the trust of the people on the police is very low. So this further threatens the trust which people have on police. So this is one of the major, there is a threat to democracy. In democracy, if people are losing trust on the police, which means that the democracy is losing its value. So that is the meaning. So the trust on the police should never be lost. So this is another crisis which should be handled. Okay, so these are all the two important crises at individual point of view and societal point of view, which might be detrimental to the democracy itself, and that's why this custodial death should be addressed. But if you could see, there are many Supreme Court judgments, there are many law commission reports against the custodial deaths, there are many committees which suggested reforms against custodial deaths. In fact, we are also having provisions under the law to prevent such things. But why such things are still happening? Because of lack of awarenesses. When we are seeing about the studies, when we are studying such issues, it is always important for us to understand what are all the provisions are there to prevent such things. So this is a meme which I made with respect to this issue. If you could, this is a Tadam movie, it is a Tamil movie where this protagonist talks about the cases related to custodial deaths. This police officer will try to hit him and he will quote the Supreme Court cases and judgments stated in that in order to prevent the police officer from hitting him. So our mains answer should also be like that. So that's why I made this meme. When we are writing the mains answer related to custodial deaths or any other issues in polity, we should also mention such judgments in our answers. Like Gauri Shankar Sharma etc. versus State of UP 1990 and Pratipal Singh versus State of Punjab 2006. Both these cases adjudicated against the custodial deaths and the torture inflicted upon police. In Gauri Shankar Sharma case, the police, the Supreme Court strictly ordered that any forms of torture while investigation should be prohibited. In Pratipal Singh versus State of Punjab, the Supreme Court in fact suspended the entire police station because of the custodial death, and they even ordered for 7 years of rigorous imprisonment for the constable and the sub-inspector who are involved in the case. So such kind of judgments are there, but it is not being implemented on the ground. So that is the structural flaw. Why it is not being implemented? Because there is no mechanism to make it implemented, or there is no authority to check that. So that is the main reason why it is not being implemented. So according to the statistics, like when we are writing mains answers, it is good to quote statistics. If there is a question related to custody, we can quote such statistics. At least 90 people die in police custody every year. So every year at least 90 people are dying in the police custody. It is not new. Every year 90 people are dying, and largest number of being are arrested and yet to be produced before magistrate. So according to Article 22, what it states? Article 22 of the Constitution states that whenever a person is being detained for punitive detention, he or she must be produced before the magistrate within 24 hours. But before producing to the magistrate itself, most of the deaths are taking place. That is a very harsh condition. So this number you can note, and this fact also you can write. Okay, even before they are being produced to magistrate, such crimes are taking place. Okay, in 2006, the government data recorded 92 deaths in the police custody, of which 60 occurred before reaching the court. So in 60 is I think which is almost two-third of the custodial deaths take place even before submitting the victim to the magistrate, and which is a very hard thing to believe. This makes mockery of the section 55A and section 57 of Criminal Procedure Code. What does the section 55A and 57 of Criminal Procedure Code state? It places the duties of care of the accused and production before the magistrate within 24 hours. already Article 22 ensure it as a fundamental right. And under Article 22, it is a fundamental right that whenever a person is being detained by the police under punitive detention, he or she must be informed of the crime why he is being detained. So he should be informed. Okay, he should be allowed access to the lawyer. Okay, he or she should be allowed access to lawyer when the police is arresting a person. Again, they should have a warrant in case of non-cognizable offences, and they have to produce the person who is detained within 24 hours to the magistrate. So these are all the protection given as a fundamental rights under Article 22. But all these rights are being violated in the such cases of custodial deaths, and it is also further strengthened by these provisions of 55A and 57 in the Criminal Procedure Code. See, specifically Section 41D of the Criminal Procedure Code states that when a person is arrested or interrogated by the police, he or she shall be entitled to meet the advocate of his choice, his or her choice, during the interrogation. Okay, so this is the provision, and it is also direct violation of Article 21, right to life and personal liberty. When a person is randomly being arrested and taken to the police station and killed, it is directly against the Article 21 of the Constitution, and it is a fundamental rights violation, and hence that's why the custodial death should be prevented. Why such a menace is taking place? Why custodial deaths are happening? What are all the reasons for such kind of thing which is happening irrespective of all such provision? Let us understand that in detail now. Attitude of the police, that is the colonial hangover. See, the police system was brought in India under the administration of Lord Cornwallis. So East India Company and the British government brought in this police system as a repressive method. Okay, repressive method, and the British government was itself a police state. The meaning of the word police state is that British government just aimed to control the law and order, and they always aimed at smooth functioning of the East India Company. The only aim of the British was to smooth functioning of East India Company and smooth looting of Indian resources. So this was the ultimate aim of British. So they, in order to prevent any such restriction for such looting, they brought in this police system to ensure law and order and to repress any form of rise of nationalism. If there is a national movement rising or a freedom struggle movement rising, to repress such movements, they use the police. So such kind of repressive attitude of police or brutal or violent attitude of police is inherent from the British time. After we got freedom in 1947, this attitude continued, and the legal provision whichever ensured such things were still continuing, because we are following the same Indian Penal Code. We are following the same Indian Penal Code. We are also following the same Police Act which was enacted by British in 1861. Still, the provisions of Police Act of 1861 are still alive. Why after independence, when India became democratic nation, these acts weren't repealed? So that is a very big question. Even after 70 years of functioning of the constitution, still we are having this act. So that's why we have to repeal such regressive colonial acts which makes our police inherently repressive and inherently brutal. Okay, this colonial hangover should be curtailed at the first place. So that is the main reason why still such kind of attitudes exist. The second important reason why such crimes are taking place is that it is a network. The police department and the bureaucracy is a very big network, and it is a network of corrupt people. We know a lot of many bureaucrats are corrupt and many police officials are corrupt. Not the entire department, but a few in the department are corrupt. So in that case, what happens if one SI or one constable is doing the mistake, and if they are not punished, if they are punished, what will happen? If it is proved that it is a pure custodial death, then what will happen? That the entire police department will be blamed, and the entire police department's name will come down. Okay, if the SI is committing a mistake, then the inspector above that SI will also be questioned. The SP above the inspector, he will also be questioned, SP or IG. So the entire hierarchy will be questioned, and hence the higher official don't want to be questioned, and that's why they tend to protect the lower level officials whenever they do crime. They don't want to be questioned, and that's why they protect them. Like, let us take this example. Higher officials are at the higher level, and we are having lower level officials at the lower level. Let us understand the hierarchy and how they are corrupt as a network. Higher level officials carry out corruption in a large scale, and for them to carry out corruption, they need the cooperation of the lower level officials. Okay, lower level officials need the support and protection of the higher level officials if they commit any mistake. So it is a quid pro quo, where lower level officials cooperate with the higher level officials for corruption. In return, higher officials protect the lower officials. So they give them protection. So such kind of protection is existing from higher officials, and they don't want the lower officials to be punished. That's why such kind of crimes are still going. This issue is not only with respect to this quid pro quo nexus of the nexus between the higher official and lower level officials in the bureaucracy is one of the important reasons this is one of the important reason why corruption is still inevitable and it is very difficult to prevent. Third thing is political nexus. So most of the bureaucrats are having their nexus with the politicians, and hence so these police officials are having we are having politicians, we are having police here. These police and politicians are having an unholy nexus again. Okay, these politicians need police to commit crimes, and the police need politicians for protection. The same thing happens again here. Since the police officials are having the political nexus, it is difficult for us to punish them. So this is another level why such things are happening without any check. So this is one type. The next important reason is indemnity for action. The meaning for the word indemnity is protection. Protection from prosecution. The meaning for the word indemnity is protection from prosecution. So these public servants are protected. Public servants are protected for any mistakes committed by them. If a public servant is committing any mistake during the official capacity, when he is in the official duty or official capacity, he or she is protected from such crime. So that is called as indemnity. So even now also, if you could see in this particular case, only the officials were transferred, but they weren't filed for a criminal case. So that is the thing which is happening. Only departmental inquiry is going. Visarana commission. In the movie Sami also, the Vikram will tell, na kola panna Visarana commission da gramari he will be telling. So which means that it is just an inquiry of the department, but it is not, they are not being punished by the court or by the criminal procedure code. So that indemnity of action of police makes them lethargic. So this curtails the accountability, curtails the two things. It curtails accountability. So while writing answers, you should mention the words like this, words like accountability. Second case, it curtails the deterrent. So when the officials are, see, when there is a, for any mistakes committed by public servants in official capacity, if there is a law to punish them, then that will also act as a deterrent for the officials to not to do any mistake. Since there is no law like this, since they are indemnified for all the mistakes they do, it is not this deterrent factor is missing. Hence, the missing of the deterrent factor and lack of accountability enables the police officers or all the public servant to commit the mistakes. So when writing the mains answer, use such terminologies. There is no proper channel for complaints. If we are facing any problem, we will go to police. If the police is the reason for the problem, where we will go? If police is the reason, if you want to complain against the police, you should go to police only. Okay. So one police investigating another police is not justice. Like you cannot, a department cannot investigate for their own mistake. One police investigating another police is not fair. Why it is not fair? It will lead to conflict of interest. So this is called conflict of interest. This police official who is investing will be facing a conflict of interest. So it is not fair also. Justice should not only be done, it should also be appeared to be done. Okay. So in order to prevent the conflict of interest only, we should create an independent authority to investigate such complaints against the police. But unfortunately, we are not having any independent authority. Even after the recommendations given by the Supreme Court or by the various law commissions also, we have not formed such complaints authority. Okay. So that is a very big problem. Even now, if we are having any grievances against the police, we have to go to police only. So that's why this they will be having this idea that they will be protected by the department. So that's why the crimes are still continuing. So forming a complaints authority is a very important reform. Next is opaque prison system. So if, for example, if at all human rights activists want to enter the prison or media want to enter the prison, so there is no inspection. There is no proper inspection by the officials in the prisons. So prisons are not properly inspected. Next, the access to media and the access to the outside world into the prison is very restricted. Okay, it is very restricted, and the process to get into the prison for any action is very huge and it is tedious. If at all a media wants to enter the prison to see the plight of the prisoners, they have to undergo a very tedious process. After the tedious process, they will go to the prison. That tedious process is acting as a deterrent for the inspectors or the media persons to enter the prison. So this opaqueness of the prisons will increase the problems. Anything which is opaque, behind that opacity there will be problem. So that is the notion, and this opacity in the present system is creating. Democracy is all about transparency. So in democracy everything should be transparent and nothing should be opaque. So that thing we have to ensure. Next important thing is glorification of police brutality. So glorification of police brutality in popular culture means in cinema. So cinema is one medium where the main protagonist, if at all he is a police officer, the police brutality is being glorified. In most of the cases, the hero himself will commit all these brutal things, and still it is seen as a heroism and not seen as police brutality. So such mentality is there inherently in the society. So both the society and the police officers, they themselves are in the mentality after seeing all the films. So except a few films like Visarane, which shows the police brutality, all the other films, so Visarana is a very popular film of Vetrimaran, except such films are very rare where they show the police brutality. All the other films glorify it, like movies like Sami or Singam. So such kind of movies, Vetayadu, Vilayadu, they just glorify the police brutality, and that's why the common masses are in the perception that police means they should be hard, police means they should be treating the accused in a brutal way. Okay, so that is being accepted as a normal in the society. So that is the main problem. Next, this is one of the important reason, guys. One important reason why such things happened is stress and psychological pressure. So police at the end of the day, they are persons, they are common man in uniform. So police means they are common man in uniform. They are also humans. They are also like you and me who are having feelings and emotions. So they are also undergoing severe stress because of various structural issues in the police department. Our police department is having a lot of structural issues and lack of funding, lack of infrastructure, and high levels of vacancy. Since there is high level of vacancy, the burden on the police is also very high. Okay, since the burden is also very high, that is giving the stress. One person have to do the work of two or more people. Since there is a lack of funding, the police officials or constable in most of the cases have to spend their own money in the course of investigation. If the investigation is done by the government also, in most of the cases the fund is not reaching them and they spend their own money for investigation and other things. So such kind of thing is giving a huge stress for the police department. Sometimes they are not given the proper human working hours of 8 hours. We are given 8 hours of working hours, but in most of the police they are working for 12 to 14 hours. Okay, so this 12 to 14 hours of work is creating a lot of psychological pressure. That's why you see a lot of suicides and violent behaviors of police. So that is one reason why such brutality exists. And finally, the individual ethics. Many police officials lack ethical knowledge. So that is, in training they are just given the physical training, but they are not given the mental training or psychological training, and they are not given the moral training. Our police department gets only the physical training, but they are not given the mental or psychological training to handle the stress and other depressions and such kind of issues, or moral training. That is moral education. Like in UPSC we are having ethics paper 4, but police is not studying the ethics paper 4 to impart ethics. Police doesn't know what empathy means because they are not being taught. See, empathy is a natural human trait only, but we should have a special training sessions to teach ethics to police. So there should be regular training. That is lacking. So if you could see, most of the custodial deaths are happening because of the ego. On one side, the popular culture is building cinemas and movies are building up the image of the police as if they are given all the powers in the society to control crimes. On the other side, individuals who are egoistic, like if they are being questions, who are you to question me? I am police, you will question me itself. If a police is coming and asking you a question, and if you, for example, if a police is investigating you or asking you something, when you question them back with the legal provisions, their ego is being touched. ஓ நீ போலீஸே கேள்வி கேட்பியா, என்னே கேள்வி கேட்பியா, நான் எவ்வளோ பெரிய ஆள் காட்டுறேன்னு பாரு. I'll show you who I am. I'll show you what is the power of police to you. Likewise, what they will do, if someone is questioning the police, that ego is hurt, and that is leading to main issue, all this custodial deaths and other police brutality. So people in police department or any public servant, not only police, any public servant from IAS to Group D officers, everyone should not be egoistic. So this taking care of the personal ego and controlling the personal ego is very important, and that can be done only with the proper moral training. So that's why moral training should be imparted. Okay, so most of the custodial deaths, if you say take and see, there will be this ego part which is playing the major role. So that's why all these issues should be checked. So these are all the main reasons, guys, behind the custodial deaths or police brutality, whatever. You can just write down all these points in the main answers. So let us see about a few statistics. Like when you are writing answer, you should quote the statistics, right? State police forces have only had 24% vacancies. That is, for every 100 police officers, only 76, for every 100 vacancies, only 76 are being filled and 24 are vacant. So this 24% vacancies existing in the police department is creating a huge pressure on the police persons. See, this is another statistics for per lakh population. The sanctioned police strength of India is 181 police per lakh population. Okay, this is the sanctioned thing, but actually we are having only 137 police personnel per lakh population. We are just having 137 police personnel per lakh population. But what is the United Nations recommendation? United Nations says that 222 police personnel should be there for 1 lakh people. So in the place of 222 police personnel for 1 lakh people, this is the global standard. We are already having a low level standard only, that is 181, but the actual condition is further low. So it is very poor now. 137 people only we are having. So almost 90 is the gap here. So such a huge gap existing is creating a lot of pressure on the police, and that is increasing the burden. Okay. So why this vacancy is a main issue? Because vacancy creates problem in many ways. On one side, it increases the burden. So it increases the burden on the existing police department. On the other side, which reduces their efficiency. On other side, it delays, because we cannot address all the issues which is happening. This lead to delay of justice. So again, delay of justice is equal to law. If the justice is being delayed, then it is justice is being denied. So it is leading to delay of justice. So that's why vacancy should be addressed. Okay. So this is a very huge issue. Whenever you are writing mains answer, remember this statistics. When you are only if you quote statistics, your answer will be enriched. 222 is the sanction, but 137 only we are having. So likewise, you have to quote your statistics in your mains answer. So now let us go to the next part. We saw why the issue is happening. We saw the various causes. We saw the reasons behind such a menace. So let us now understand how to reform. How can we control this custodial death? What steps should be needed? So this is the area where UPSC can ask question in GS4. So this can be your question in GS4. How to control the custodial deaths? So for that, let us see the answer now. First, anti-torture legislation. So India is not having the anti-torture legislation. That is a common legislation for all over India for torture. In 2017, a law commission gave a draft anti-torture bill. 2017 law commission gave this draft anti-torture bill, but this bill was never implemented and this bill was never considered at all. It is still in the draft stage itself. So we should have a holistic anti-torture bill. What should be the provisions of the bill? It should be defining what is torture. Okay, it should be providing the provisions how to control it. Okay, it should also provide the provisions for punishments if someone torture. It should also provide protection for victims. So with such provisions, we should bring in a bill. It should define torture. It should have methods to control, institutional methods to control it, and then it should have punishment for the perpetrators who are violating it, and finally there should be provisions for protection of victim also. So such a bill should be introduced in Parliament and it should be passed, and that should be the major role. For this, government can consider this 2017 Law Commission recommendation. So you can write in your answer, according to 2017 Law Commission recommendation, we have to bring in an anti-torture legislation. We will see about this draft bill in the later part of the video. The second step. So India should ratify this UN Convention Against the Torture, which came into force in 1987. Okay, this Convention of United Nations came into force in 1987. Even after the 33 years, we are still yet to ratify it. India though signed the convention, India is yet to ratify. So this convention should be ratified. We will see about this convention with the preliminary point of view later in the video. Then, establishment of Police Complaints Authority, PCA. This Police Complaints Authority PCA is an independent authority which consists of a board which investigates complaints against police. Okay, like we saw in the previous slide that if you are having any complaints against police, where you will go and file. So if you are having any complaints against police, you need such an authority to go and file the case. So this Police Complaint Authority should be established. So it was recommended by National Police Commission. This National Police Commission was formed in 1977, and this National Police Commission took into various issues with respect to police in the nation, and it recommended various recommendations for reform of the police. So this National Police Commission's recommendations, it asked every state government to establish the Police Complaints Authority at state and district level. Okay, so this is the first recommendation. Secondly, in Supreme Court in Prakash Singh versus Union of India case. So in Prakash Singh case, again Supreme Court also recommended that a Police Complaints Authority should be established. In 2006, based on the Supreme Court judgment in the Prakash Singh case, government enacted a Model Police Act in 2006. Since police is under the state government, police is coming under the state list. So union government is not having direct jurisdiction. So union government brought in this Modern Police Act. In the Modern Police Act also, it mandated that all the state government should bring in this Police Complaints Authority. Okay, so the aim of the Model Police Act was that every state government should reform their own police act based on this Model Police Act. Okay, so it also suggested to establish this Police Complaints Authority to investigate the complaints against the police. It should be independent of the police system. It should be an independent authority. Independent authority like what? Independent authority like Election Commission of India or like UPSC. It should not be dependent on government. It should be independent, and it should be independent of police too, so that it is functioning in the just way. Only if such authority is coming, we can ensure the accountability. If police itself is investigating their own crimes, then there will not be any accountability. That will lead only to the conflict of interest. This conflict of interest is an important topic in GS4 also. The Model Police Act requires, so according to Model Police Act, requires that state complaint authority should have 5 members. Every state complaint authority should have 5 members. That 5 members are, so this can be asked in a preliminary, that's why I am discussing here. That 5 members should be a retired High Court judge. So he is the first member, he or she. A retired police officer of rank of DGP. So it is a retired police officer, but not the actual police officer in service. So that, see, it is a authority related to police. So you should have someone, an expert from the police department too. That's why we need a retired police officer of the rank DJP. But there is a catch, not from the own state, but from another state cadre. Like for example, if Tamil Nadu establishes a police complaint authority, a DGP of the other state, not from the Tamil Nadu itself, DGP of another state cadre should be member. So that further ensures the accountability. If the DGP of the same cadre is there inside the board, what will happen? Again, that will lead to conflict of interest. So that's why from an other state. So this is a very important provision suggested by Model Police Act, which should be followed. So this retired police officer is a second member. Third, a retired officer with public administration experience from other state. So public administration experience means that member can be an IAS or any other administrative officers from other state, again not from the same state. A civil society member, that is a member from the NGO. NGOs related to what? NGOs related to human rights. So human rights NGOs can be a member. And finally, a person with at least 10 years of experience in the judicial officer or lawyer. A person who is a lawyer for 10 years. So that to have the legal knowledge. Already we are having a judicial member in the form of a judge, and there is another judicial member in the form of a lawyer. So 2 judicial members and 2 members from the administrative side, 2 members from the judicial side, and 1 member from the NGO. So this is the 5-member authority which was suggested by Model Police Act, but this suggestion was not implemented at all. Only few states have implemented it, not all the states have done. To note that of the all 35 states and union territories, 2 states had not made this notification at all. Jammu and Kashmir and Uttar Pradesh have not created such a body at all. Apart from these 2 states, all the other bodies have created a public complaint authority, but that authority is not having any powers at all. So that is the problem here. Tamil Nadu is also having this police complaint authority, but our authority is not having any power. So that is the problem now. So of all the 28 states and 7 union territories, I think so, sorry, 28 states and 8 union territories. We are having 28 states and 18 union territories, except Telangana. So that's why it is 35 here. Jammu and Kashmir and UP never did it. We know what is happening in Jammu and Kashmir. Now it has become a union territory. We also know how police brutality is taking place in Uttar Pradesh. In Uttar Pradesh, there were 5,000 encounters in 3 years. In just 3 years, from 2017, the state had 5,000 encounter, which is a huge number. Such levels of police brutality is taking place in Uttar Pradesh, which has to be checked. So this you can quote in the answers also. So of the rest of the 33 states and union territories which created this authority, there are many issues. Like some states, state authority is created and district authorities are not created. District level complaints authority have not created. In some states, district level authorities were created and state levels authorities are not created. So such kind of discrepancies is existing, which is opposed to Model Police Act. In the next level, another thing which Niti Aayog found that composition of these authorities are not at all matching this modern police act at all. So for example, in most of this body we are having functioning police official. In Bihar and Gujarat, these bodies are having functioning police official. In Tamil Nadu also, in Tamil Nadu's police complaint authority also, we are having all 5 members are from police department only. They are present DGPs. So again it is creating a situation of police investigating a police. So that is leading to conflict of interest. And one more main thing is this if at all they are creating an authority with some power, they are taking away the power to give the binding recommendation. If at all they are creating an authority as per the Model Police Act, many states have taken away the binding recommendation and they have made just it as an advisory body. So it is existing as an advisory body, which is a toothless tiger. So toothless tiger is of no use. So in your writing answer, you can use these words like this: toothless tiger or a paper knife, attakati, and the mari. So this is the plight of the police complaint authority. So one reform which is surely needed is every state government should create a police complaint authority as per the guidelines of Prakash Singh case and Model Police Act. So this should be the next step. That's why this hashtag is trending. Implement PCA. Next set of reforms is NHRC and HSRC, that is National Human Rights Commission and State Human Rights Commission. If you see in most of the movies, they are demonizing or they are showing the Human Rights Commission in the negative light. For example, in Kaka Kaka movie also, they will show Human Rights Commission as something, an authority which is negative. So this National Human Rights Commission and State Human Rights Commission are there to protect the people from such custodial deaths only. But in our movies, this National Human Rights Commission and State Human Rights Commission are shown in a negative way. So that is a very big problem. And both the authorities are also having only advisory role. They are not having any power to give binding recommendation. And since it is a recommendatory authority, it is not having any power. Even though SHRC or NHRC investigate such custodial deaths, at the end of the day, it is just having the advisory role. It can just recommend to the court, but it cannot give binding decision. So hence, more power should be given to human rights commissions and more authority also should be given to them. And another important thing is mental health professionals. There should be presence of mental health professionals and counselors in the police station. Every police station should have mental health professional associated with it and counselors associated with. This is for two purposes. One, these mental health professionals can address the mental health of the prisoners, those who are in prison. Okay, and also they can check the mental health of the police personnel itself. Most of the police personnel, like we already saw, they were in severe stress. If you could see, most often you will see a news that CRPF Jawan shot the other fellow officials with a gun because of the stress, or CRPF Jawan shot himself and died. So like that you are seeing a lot of news where police officials commit suicide or commit some brutal acts because of such pressures they are facing. So for that only we should have mental health professionals in every police station in order to check the mental health of both police personnel and the prisoners. Like in Uttasarupu movie of Parthiban also, you will be seeing a psychiatrist coming to the prison and talking to the accused. So like that only we should have mental health professionals in the police station. And also every police official should be should undergo regular mental examination. That is for every 6 months or like for every year, that police official should undergo mental examination to check whether the police official is steady, he is in a normal mindset, he is not having any pressure or depression. So such establishment should be done. And one more important recommendation is that every police professional should have a NGO observer or police brutality and observer. There should be an observer in every police station who is monitoring the police for any brutality happening. So existing of such outside people or such psychologists or psychiatrists in the police station is a good reform. Then regular training of police personnel on ethical and human investigation techniques. So I already said that moral education should be taught to the police official. Okay, and there are many investigation techniques so which are very brutal. So there are many humane investigation technique also. Humane non-invasive investigation techniques are also existing, like psychometry test or lie detector test. Like that we are having many non-humane investigation techniques. So such investigation techniques should be brought in, and police should be given regular training on how to handle the accused in a humane way. So such regular training only will ensure that police officers are stable and they are not committing any mistakes. So this is one reform which is needed. Regular training of officials. In our India, police training takes place only during the joining. Only at the entry it is taking place. Once they enter into the police services, that's it. There is no training happening, and that is leading to all the complicated issues. Then installing the CCTV cameras in the police station. Each and every police station, including the cell, prisoner cell, and all the interrogation rooms should have constant CCTV camera, and the power to control the CCTV camera should not be vested to the police station. So the CCTV camera should be there, but police, what they can do? They can just switch off the camera and do whatever they want, like it is happening in Onion movie. In Onion movie, what will happen? Prakash Raj will just switch off the camera and he'll be hitting the accused there. So like that, for that only what we have to do, this CCTV cameras control should not be in the particular police station. It should be in the district headquarters or with the collector or with the SP, or it can be in the control room of the capital city. So like that only a centralized control should be only there, and it should not be decentralized CCTV cameras. Okay, so that thing should be fitted, and simultaneously body cams. So you know the concept of body cam. In foreign nation they are having this body cam where every police official will wear a body camera and they will be having camera attached to their body. So wherever they go and wherever they talk with the people, whenever they talk with the people, that camera will be recording all the conversation and whatever is happening. Okay, so such body cams should be put on the police officials whenever they are going for a patrol. So this will help in the checking of crimes. It will help in checking both the crimes and also the police brutality. Supreme Court in the landmark judgment in DK Basu case. In DK Basu case, Supreme Court said that there should be surprise inspection by non-official visitors. And we can note down this case name again. We already saw three cases name, and this is the fourth case name. So noting down the case name and quoting it in the answers will enhance your marks. And finally, we have come to the Law Commission report. Law Commission of India in its 273rd report, which was submitted in 2017, it suggested that those accused of committing the custodial torture, be it policemen, military or paramilitary personnel, should be criminally prosecuted. That is, indemnity should be gone. So now the present system, what is happening, whenever a public servant or a police personnel is committing any crime, only departmental inquiry is taking place. Okay, Visarana Commission, only departmental inquiry is taking place, only departmentally they are punished. That is in the form of suspension or in the form of transfers or sometimes in the case of dismissal. So, but dismissing from service is not the solution for custodial murders. So, if the crime is heinous like custodial death, it should not be just suspension or transfer or dismissal. Instead, a criminal case should be filed against such public servants, and hence criminal prosecution should be brought whenever the custodial deaths take place. So such a legislation should come. CRPC should be amended, or anti-torture law should bring in such criminal prosecution against the police personnel, and the indemnification should be taken. So that is one thing. A number of sections of criminal procedure code, for example section 45, 132 and 197, deny civil courts and criminal jurisdiction over human rights violation. So this CRPC protects the police persons and denies the jurisdiction of the court for the human rights violations committed by the police or civil servants or armed forces while perpetrating the discharge of duties. Okay, so unless the court get the prior permission, so such provisions in the CRPC is protecting the police personnel. So such provisions should go. Okay, in case of custodial death. So government should amend and remove such provisions. So that is one reform which can be done. Okay. So guys, we have come to the end of the video. In this video, we discussed about the custodial deaths, why such deaths take place, and what are all the reasons which sustains the custodial deaths, and what are all the various flaws which allows such custodial deaths to take place. We also discussed various reforms needed. If at all a mains question is coming, asking to suggest the reforms to stop custodial deaths, we discussed the entire reforms in the top to bottom. We also discussed many Supreme Court judgment like Pratipal Sim's case or Gauri Shankar case or Prakash Singh case, which talks about the custodial deaths and police reforms. So we have come to the end of the part 1 of the video, where we discuss the mains point of view. In the part 2 of this video of this custodial deaths, we will be discussing the prelims point of view of this issue, that is UN conventions against torture, which can be asked in the preliminary. We will also be discussing the provisions of the draft anti-torture bill, which was recommended by Law Commission in 2017. So we will discuss the anti-torture bill and United Nations Convention against torture in the second part of the video. Thank you guys. Stay home and stay safe.